Hello, Stitchy friends. How's everybody doing? Today is Friday, May 5th, 2026, and I'm here to stitch with you for a little bit. I decided today was a good day to pull out my mystery stitch and just put in, an hour or two of stitching with you and just kind of chat and virtually stitch together. I know you all have been really enjoying these types of videos where we just kind of get together and stitch, and it's been really lovely. That connection has meant a lot. I think a lot of us as stitchers, we don't necessarily know anybody locally who we can stitch with or, get together at a stitching, stitching retreat or anything like that. And so to have this virtual time where we can just be spending together and stitching is really lovely for me and hopefully for you as well. So thank you so much for joining me if you are here for that today. And if you're working on a project, which I obviously hope you are, let me know in the comments what project you're working on. I always love to hear what you're making progress on or how many stitches you got in during the video, all things like that. Winston is again down here at my feet. I'll see if I can show him real quick. He's in his favorite little stitchy spot while I stitch. And yeah, I think otherwise I'm ready to go. I got my tea this morning, so I'm ready to stay hydrated while we stitch and just share a little bit of tea and stitchy time with you. If this is your first sort of stitch along with me video, I've been trying a couple different ways to record and film, and so I'm trying this one today. My microphone typically is on my person, but today I have it actually attached to the fabric out of the camera site, but it's attached to the fabric. So I'm hoping that it might not pick up as many of my personal sounds, but more of maybe the stitching sounds, which could be good. So we'll see how that goes today, but still learning and still figuring everything out. I do feel like when I'm sitting in this chair filming everything, I feel like I'm sort of trapped in my spot. I've got my camera right here that I can't touch or I can't bump, and I've got my stitching in front of me, and it feels like I'm sort of in here for the long haul. But hopefully this all works for you and you're able to see sort of what I'm working on. And this will be a slow process today. I'm just going to kind of stitch and be chatting with you. So unlike some of the other videos, I probably won't be talking too much about where I'm parking my thread or how I'm dealing with the needle or what I'm doing with the parked thread, that kind of thing. And I'm not going to show the markup pattern today. So we'll just be kind of stitching along and, putting in some stitches. We'll see how far we can get. So thank you very much for joining me. I really do appreciate your time and you wanting to spend a little bit of time with me. And most importantly, get some stitching in. That's the most important thing, right? So this morning I went for my run in the morning like I normally do, and it was supposed to be a 3-mile run. And I woke up and sort of looked at the weather and I saw, it's actually supposed to be kind of rainy tomorrow on Saturday. And, not the nicest of days on Sunday either. And so I decided maybe I should just get my long run out of the way today instead of waiting for next week, or instead of waiting for the weekend to do the run. I figured, what? I don't have anything lined up that I can't do that today. And so I just decided to do my long run. So I ended up doing 12 miles in Central Park, and it was a really, really nice day for it. The sun was out this morning. It is getting a little bit cloudier now. I guess the rain is sort of coming in, but this morning it was really sunny, really nice. The park was a little bit more quiet than normal, and just a really good run. And if I get quiet on these videos, it's only because I'm concentrating on what I'm stitching at the moment, and trying to get everything in order. Or trying to change the color on markup or whatever the case may be. So I apologize if there is some times of quietness. And that's okay, because I think we also just enjoy the sounds of our stitching too. But yeah, it hit me that actually next weekend is my half marathon. And that just seems crazy to me. I can't believe we're already, coming towards the middle of May. That is pretty wild to me. And but I do feel ready for it. I feel like it's going to be a good race. I feel like I'm ready to enjoy it. I'm ready to do the race. And so I'm looking forward to it a lot. Sorry, I don't know what happened here that I got all of these so tangled all of a sudden. I think somehow they got out of order and it's always one of my favorite races in the city because it's right past an old neighborhood that I used to live in Brooklyn. And you sort of start near Prospect Park and work your way down all the way to Coney Island. And then at Coney Island, it's a wonderful finish because you finish right in the park of the baseball stadium there. And that just is a lot of fun because they usually have vendors set up where you can, buy hot dogs or you can get a Coney Island hot dog. There's beer there and just like a really fun atmosphere to finish the race and end the race in. And I always enjoy that. So it should be a very fun race and I'm ready for it. I think I felt really great today on my 12-mile run. So grateful for that. And I felt like I could have gone another mile and that would be the half marathon distance. So I think I'm ready. I hope you, wherever you are, have been having seasonally appropriate weather, whatever that might look like for you, whether that is finally some spring weather for you that you're getting into that spring season, or whether that might be you're getting into your fall season in the southern hemisphere. But I hope you're having appropriate seasonal weather. Weather's so up and down these days. It's really hard to even know what appropriate seasonal weather is these days. Because it just feels like it's all so unexpected. Now, as I stitch this chart, I will say that this section right in through here with all these different whites and grays, you can even see the colors that I'm stitching right now are so close together. That has been a little challenging, not gonna lie. It's been hard to just work with those same sort of colors and keeping all those threads straight. You'd think that there's just like one color in there, but there's not. There's so many colors. And because they're all just very, very similar, and some of them are so light that it was hard to tell, like, did I already do that stitch? Or is there nothing there? Because it basically just blends right into the fabric. So this was a little bit of a challenging section, at least for me personally. And that's okay. There's always challenging parts to these stitches. So we just got to work through those as well. And one stitch at a time will get us there. And this pattern does, these stitches, I'm not in a section of block stitching really, although I might be coming up on one here in a little bit, so that may make it a little easier. But there is a lot of counting involved, so that's another reason I sort of get quiet as I'm doing this, because I do have to count and see where I'm parking my next thread. So that makes it a little challenging as well. And it is still a challenge to stitch and chat at the same time. I think if I was working on an easier piece, it'd be easier for me to concentrate on what I'm saying to you and not so much on the stitching. But in this piece, I really do have to concentrate on the stitching. And then I find it hard to be chatting with you as well. So I'm learning, trying to get better at it. But I have really been enjoying this piece despite all of the confetti involved, especially in this diagonal that I'm in right now. There has been a lot of confetti, but I am really enjoying it. And I think this section here is starting to come together. And yeah, I think within maybe like one or two more diagonals, you will see what the theme is, and you'll know how to be sort of guessing going forward, which I think will be fun. And yeah, I'll just keep stitching. And eventually we'll get there. And again, with this piece, I'm not in a hurry. I'm sort of stitching it in this particular way. I think I just dropped a needle. I did. Can't have any dropped needles because Winston would not like that if he has to step on one. I don't think he would try to eat a needle, but still, I don't want any lying around. And when you're working with a project like this with so many different needles going, it's kind of easy to have one sort of drop or fall. So and as I told you before, I am still getting used to the needle Park Avenue method of parking your stitches with the needle on them. It's definitely challenging, and especially when you get into sections that are really high confetti or high color changes like I'm in right now, it becomes really difficult to park them in a way where the needles and the thread are not getting sort of tangled up. And so that I'm still kind of figuring out. I thought I had a good method for doing it, and yet as time goes on, as there's just more and more threads and more rows that I'm working in, things get really tangled. And I'm actually debating trying Cross Stitch Meadows tactic of doing just 3 rows of the diagonal and kind of working my way all the way across the top just in those 3 rows. And the reason for that is I think that it would allow, there would be less threads I'd be working with, first of all. So there wouldn't be as many threads to get tangled because I'm only working in this one little 3 rows high, like 3 10 by 10 rows high, instead of working in the entire diagonal. So there wouldn't be as many threads that I'd be dealing with. And I think that might alleviate some of the issues I'm having. Now, it wouldn't alleviate all of them, but I think it would help some. So I am kind of thinking about possibly trying that, seeing how that goes in the future. Obviously, I'm going to finish this diagonal that I'm in now because I've already got it started past those 3 rows. Actually, I'm at the 1, 2, 3. I'm at the very bottom of those 3 rows right now. But I'm going to keep this diagonal going the whole way down through. But yeah, just kind of thinking of ways that I can make this easier on myself, or you know, make for less tangles or less threads getting caught. And especially ways I can use the Needle Park Avenue in a way that works without those needles getting tangled too. So stay tuned. I'm learning this all along with you as well. I think the Needle Park Avenues work amazing when you are using it with just like, you know, 5, 6 colors. But as soon as you start getting into these, like, you know, some of these rows, in a row of 10 stitches, there's 10 different colors. And that is just where it gets really tricky and really difficult. Okay, there was a bit of confusion there. I apologize. I will cut out that section, but I realized I had forgot to mark off my stitches on markup, and it was really confusing where I was at. But I got it figured out. So no worries, but yeah, that was a little bit of a challenge to kind of figure out what was going on there. And you know, markup is great, but you still have to mark off the stitches in order to use it. So if I forget to mark them off, it's only going to hurt me in the long run. And I find when I'm changing colors so often or switching colors so often, it's very easy to forget to mark a stitch off. And yeah, that's what happened there. So, but I'm back now. We're going to keep moving forward. I need a new thread out of here. Luckily, this is one that already has thread on the needle, so that's always exciting when that happens. And I can just grab it and start stitching. So I do really like those floss cards still. That's one of my favorite things of this project so far. I'm so glad I took the time to kit those up. You know, I know it did take a little bit of time to put everything on those cards and get everything ready, but I think it's definitely worth it in the long run to have everything just kind of organized and ready to go. Now you're watching me here do a 1-stranded loop start. So maybe the next time I have to start a thread, I will try to walk you through that in case that's helpful for you of how I start it. But with full coverage like this, I prefer not to have to like flip my fabric or my project over to start or end threads. So I've kind of found ways that allow me to do that without flipping to the back. So when I'm only using 1 strand, I can't do the regular loop start, but I can work on this 1-stranded loop start, and that works just as well for me. And I haven't had any issues with it. So that's always good. So I'm just ending some threads here that I won't get to in this diagonal. I've also thought about on a piece like this, maybe trying cross country in the diagonal, because you know, it'd still make it difficult to come up in holes where there are other stitches, but it would maybe make the stitching process a little bit easier, a little bit more manageable, because there's just so many color changes. So it's really difficult to navigate that many threads. And if I'm doing cross country, then I'm only working with one thread at a time. So we'll see. On this piece, I'm probably going to try a couple different methods as I keep stitching it, just because this is my first really large, big full coverage with lots of confetti, and I want to figure out what works for me, what works for my brain. So stay tuned, come along with me on this ride. So I'm ready. I have a new strand now. I'm going to kind of walk you through the one stranded loop start. So this is the stitch I'm stitching right here, this X. So I'm going to come down in the top left corner, and I'm going to leave just a little bit of a tail so I can have that there. I'm going to come up in the top right corner, right in through there. And again, I'm going to leave that tail, so I'm going to pull it just a little bit tighter. I'm going to go back down in the top right corner. I like to just hold my tail down so it doesn't kind of pull through as I do this. I leave just this tiny little loop, and then I come up in the bottom left corner right here, and then I'll actually go through the loop. So you can see my needle is going through the loop here to catch that. Then I will pull it tight, and you'll see just a tiny little bit of a knot or a bump there. And then I go back down in the top right corner, and I'll actually pull that little knot or bump to the back side so it kind of disappears, and now you can't see it anymore. And that really secures the thread on that initial stitch. So then I come up the bottom right, I get my tail that I've left here, and I trim the tail as close to the fabric as I can. And sorry, my hands are getting in the way here. But trim that tail as close to the fabric as I can. And then I take my needle and kind of push that tail down by going back down the top left corner. And then we got our stitch. It's very secure and it's not going anywhere. So yeah, that's kind of how I like to start my threads. It really works for me. And now that thread will be parked and ready to go in the next diagonal. Again, this is a little bit of a deviation from my mania plans, but I am ready to start a new Mania project, which is exciting, and one that I have not made progress on since maybe last June. So I am really excited to get back to that one. I think I will start on that tomorrow on Saturday and get those 500 stitches completed. But this is just a little bit of a deviation because I really want to keep working on this. And it's funny, even with all this confetti and all of these color changes and all these needles and everything, it's still such a calming process to me, even though I go so slow. It's not like I'm making hundreds and hundreds of stitches in an hour or something. You know, it's a very slow process, and yet I really, really do love it. Because it allows my brain to just calm down, even though there's sort of all this chaos around me and color changes and threads and needles, and my brain can somehow just like be in a calm state with it. And yeah, the truth of the matter is we're probably not going to get many stitches in on these videos because not only is this a slow process, and I do have to really concentrate on it because of the amount of color changes, but I am much slower when I'm trying to film and talk at the same time. So all that being said, we're not going to get very many stitches in these videos, and that's okay. Mostly I just enjoy filming them and sharing the process with you, so I'm happy we can still do this together and stitch along, even if the progress isn't, amazing. There are about 150 colors in this piece, and so in these sections where you're changing from kind of like, it's shifting from one motif to another motif, or one color to another color, it's amazing how many different shades of colors are used to create that illusion, that look, that sort of like shifting. And I'm always amazed. I'm like, oh, it won't be that many colors. And then I look at the pattern. I'm like, oh my goodness, there's 50 shades of yellow. There's 10 shades of gray in this one section. So it's very, I guess that kind of makes sense when you're dealing with full coverage and all those different colors. I think the thing for me that I still really enjoy about this method is that I don't have to worry about filling in a stitch that is already surrounded by so many other stitches and, fighting my way to get through the fabric to get to the top of to get to the hole. While I am still, fighting to find the hole here because of some of the parked threads behind it, and because of some of the threads that have been ended, it's not as much as if I would be, stitching cross country or something like that. I need another drink of my tea, sorry. This is just a mint tea from Trader Joe's, and I love it. It's one of my favorites from there, but it's just a plain mint tea. Nothing fancy like Barbara with Stitching with T and B, but still really just good tea. And I find when I'm doing these videos and talking a lot, then I do get kind of thirsty. So I think I'll have a pretty busy weekend this weekend, actually. So I am kind of glad that I got my long run out of the way today. I will be tomorrow and Saturday. I've got to do some cleaning. So I need to clean the apartment. I need to do some laundry and all of those kind of things that come along with, just life. But so tomorrow will kind of be just a chore day around the house and then when that's done, I'll be stitching on the next Mania piece. Saturday evening, I have a dinner with some friends, which I'm excited for. And then on Sunday, I'm actually going to be, I think, meeting with my old roommate in Central Park for a bit. We're going to chat, and I'm going to bring Winston. So it'll be Winston's first Central Park visit since he's been back. He doesn't get to go to Central Park too often because it's just kind of far enough for us that it doesn't make sense to take him there. But when we go, he does always like it. I'm sorry if you can hear that whistling noise. That is some device that my neighbors have in their their sort of patio area. But when it's really windy, it makes this really loud whistling noise. And so I apologize if you can hear that. There it is again. I'm not sure if it'll catch it on the microphone or not, but so yeah, that'll all make for a pretty busy weekend. I'd like to do my grocery shopping again, and then, before you know it, it's Monday again. We're back to it. But I am very lucky to have had a couple of those interviews kind of be moving forward, and I feel hopeful that things will pan out with one of them. And so that is exciting. I am looking forward to that, to just having that steady income coming in again and not having to worry about how I'm going to pay the bills so much. Sorry for shaking the camera. I've got things everywhere, and in this apartment, no space of the floor is level. And sorry, I hope you can't hear that whistling sound. It's bothering me. I know maybe you can't hear it, but it is quite annoying. But no space in this apartment is level. And so anytime I hit or bump anything, it all just shakes because the floor is not level. And so the stands are not level. The bases are not level. And yeah, everything just kind of moves. And that's what you get when you get old apartments in New York City. I think all the apartments I've lived in, none of the floors have been level. Everything is just kind of a little crazy. So yeah, that's my weekend. It's also Mother's Day weekend, I believe, right? My days and weeks have been all sort of blending together. I feel like when you don't have the consistency of Monday through Friday work, then the days and weeks just kind of all blur together, and I never know what day it is, what time of the month it is. But I believe this weekend is Mother's Day. So hopefully you're all able to do something very special for that. And I know it can be a really hard day for some people, so I hope you all have the best day available to you. again, when you're looking at this pattern really up close and you're dealing with all these different colors, you sort of look at it and you think, are these pixels actually forming any sort of image? It's kind of hard to tell if they are or are not. And it's not until you really step back from the piece that you see what it's building. And in a way that's really fun too, because you're working on it at such a close capacity that when you step back, it's like, oh wow, I did actually do that. It is actually looking like it could be something here. I know for sure when I was working in this section up here, I think you can still see it. There's so many color changes. And I kept thinking, what is this even making? I don't even think it's going to look like anything, but I'm just trusting the process. And I guess, to be honest, there is always a risk. You know, I bought this on Etsy a number of years ago. There is always a risk that these Etsy charts, maybe they're not charted as nicely, and maybe they won't be as good of a chart as I think. I mean, I think we'll know pretty soon what the charting is like on this piece, and I'll have a good indication, but you don't really know when you buy it what the chart is going to be like. So in a way that can seem kind of risky, because these are such huge pieces. You don't want to put in so much stitching only to realize that the chart wasn't done well, or wasn't what you were hoping. Because that would be a bummer, for sure. Okay, I think we're actually ready to go to the next row now, because I don't always follow my method to a T, and in this case, it just doesn't make sense to do that extra stitch right now. So stitch on the end, so I'm just going to wait. I also think, like, with all these color changes, if you get one color of yellow wrong or one stitch out of place, no one is going to know, because the colors are so close together anyway. And, obviously I want to get all the colors correctly placed, but I don't think you'll be able to tell if there's really things out of place. Now this is a little fun section in the yellow here, because there is just a bit of block stitching of this one color, which always helps things kind of go a little faster. And I'm hoping that's what this chart will kind of offer, in the sense of there will be, as we get into like some of the different motifs in there, there will be areas of block stitching, and that's kind of what I'm hoping for. So that it's not all just confetti. I apologize for that whistling. I hope it's not too annoying on the video. Fortunately, there's nothing I can do about it because it is in my neighbor's backyard or in their little patio. So it's just something I have to deal with. Sometimes it is annoying at night when I'm trying to go to sleep and it's really windy out and that thing is just whistling and whistling. But I do think the storms must be brewing and be coming in because it is getting windier and it's definitely getting cloudier. This morning it was such a beautiful sunny morning and that's not the case anymore. It has definitely clouded up. So I think that means the storms that are coming tomorrow, which is why I wanted to do my run today, means they're coming in. Trying to think what else has been going on for me here in the city. It's been mostly just sort of readjusting to life in the city again, which has been definitely really fun. And I just love the city so much. I'm so glad to be back. I think for a while I thought, should I move out of the city if I can't find a job? And I think when I honestly thought about it and took a look at it, I realized I don't think I'm quite ready to leave the city yet. I think I want to stay here a little bit longer and just this has been my home for 16 years. And I wasn't quite ready to leave it yet. Even with all these annoying whistling sounds that happen. So it's been really nice to just get back to the city and kind of be doing things I enjoy here in the city and, reconnecting with my friends here. And yeah, just especially having some interviews moving forward and things like that. It's been nice to kind of get that all going again and feel the energy of the city sort of coming back in that respect. I did decide that since I did my long run already today, that I was going to treat myself to breakfast this morning. So I took myself and went and had coffee at a local coffee shop here in the city, or here in my neighborhood, I mean. And yeah, had coffee and I got an egg and cheese sandwich and just treated myself after a long run. I need the nutrition, or I need the food in my stomach, and it was a nice nice way to do that on a Friday when I don't have anything else sort of lined up. So I just went and sat there in the coffee shop for about an hour, drinking my coffee, taking my time. That's definitely one of the advantages of not having a 9-to-5 job at the moment. So I can take advantage of those sort of calmer, more relaxing mornings, but obviously I need an income to be able to sustain that. So yeah, we'll see. And I definitely will keep you all posted on what happens on the job front and where those interviews go. Hopefully by next Flosstube I'll have a little bit more information and can share all that with you. But I know that there's something out there for me, whatever it may be, and I know even if it's not sort of my dream role or exactly what I'd like to be doing, I think there's potential for it to be a little stepping stone or a learning experience to take me to the next thing. So I'm just trying to remain open and remain positive for what's coming my way, and trusting that whatever is supposed to happen will happen. And I think in a way that's just given me so much peace. I feel like I used to have to really try to control everything and control, how I was perceived, or control my environment around me. And that's just exhausting. And there's things that are out of my control. And I need to learn to sort of let go of those. And once I was able to do that, I think that gave me a lot more peace of just trusting and believing that the good things will happen that are for me. So that's just what I'm learning as I go through this process. It's definitely not been an easy one, though, and I'm so grateful for all of you and all of your support through this whole thing. That's just meant the world to me, and to have supportive family who have been there for me and who have let me stay at their house, and just feel really grateful and really lucky for that chance and opportunity as well. Not everybody has that, and and I am really lucky. As far as ideas or guesses for what this project is, there's definitely been some guesses so far of what people think it is or what people think is going on here. Someone thought it was maybe a stick of butter up here in the corner. I guess all this yellow looked like butter. What did someone else say? Someone said the blue reminded them of Dumbo for some reason. But there's been some good guesses. And I think as we keep getting a little bit further along, you'll have a better idea. So just be patient as we keep going through. And don't worry, as we get further along, once we sort of get to a place where I'm seeing a new color or new something from a new motif, I will let you know. So you'll know when to start guessing again or what we're getting into next. This is the part in full coverage stitching that I do really enjoy. You know, when we first started this video, that section was very messy right in through here because you can just see all the different colors and changes we had to go through. But now that we're in this section, there's just a little bit of block stitching. And so I don't mind working with like 6, 7 threads. It's nice when there's just some, you can get kind of a whole row of stitches completed pretty quickly. It's just when it gets into like those major changing of colors that can really slow down the process. But it ebbs and flows with the piece, and so you just keep working through the tougher sections to get to these kind of more pleasurable ones. And that's what makes it kind of fun, I think, for full coverage, because yeah, you just always you're always sort of changing the way you're working or the way things are being stitched because of the patterns. But this yellow section is pretty lovely to stitch, and just like the blue section was. You know, confetti around the edges of it, but once you got into the center of that section, it was really nice to stitch because there were less changes all at once. There was a little bit more block stitching in a row. And I know some full coverage patterns are more like that, where it's, you know, kind of chunks of block stitching along the way. And maybe that's what I should just gravitate more towards, because that's kind of how I like to be stitching, or, you know, what I like to be doing. So maybe I should be paying more attention to that in the future when I choose a pattern. This one, unfortunately, I think will be a lot of color changes, because there's a lot of different motifs, and whenever you have a lot of different motifs, you're kind of switching from one color to the next. You know, one motif might be blue, one motif might be yellow, one might be gray, and so whenever you're changing between those colors, that's when the real confetti hits, to make that blend look as good as possible, in my opinion. So this piece will have a lot of it, which is even more reason I should enjoy these little moments of block stitching while I have it, while I can. It's funny though, because I do also get bored of block stitching sometimes, like especially if it's in a background and it's just 1 or 2 colors and it's just, you know, hundreds and hundreds or thousands and thousands of stitches in that one color. It almost does get a little boring to me, and so I like the chance to be able to change colors and shift, and I think that's why another reason the diagonal works so well is you're never really staying in one color too long, because you're not stitching it cross country. You're kind of letting it take you only so far. And then you're switching to the next color. So okay, had to fix some issues there with some parked threads. I think we're now back on track from what I can tell. Hopefully that is correct. Maybe I really should start using the parking tool if I think that is going to help me be more concise and accurate about where I'm parking and what's parked around me. Okay. Just when I thought we were going to have a really good section there. That's when I sort of got all messed up. Not messed up, but I just needed to figure out what was happening. These two threads here can be parked now because they're in the next diagonal. Look how pretty these colors are right here. All these grays and yellows. Kind of fun. Means we're getting to a new section when we start parking all these yellows and tans, and we know we're getting close to a new section. It always sort of ebbs and flows into the next part. I guarantee you I'm not going to have many stitches in this session. I bet maybe 50 stitches if I'm lucky, if even that. But like I said, it's not about the number of stitches. It's just about enjoying the time that we get to stitch together. Yesterday afternoon, after I had my one interview yesterday, I decided, you know what, I'm going to take the afternoon and just enjoy the weather because it was really sunny out. So I took my stitching. I was working on the lighthouse for Mania 500. I took that out on my little patio, and Winston and I stayed out there almost all afternoon. It was such a lovely, lovely afternoon. And we just stitched. And then after I'd been stitching for, maybe an hour or two out there, I just decided, you know what, I want to just enjoy the sun. So I actually put on my swimsuit and I just suntanned for a little on my balcony. And I had a little bit of ice cream. I had my water. And just enjoyed the afternoon. Had my music going. It was so relaxing. And so nice to just have that kind of moment. At one point, my neighbor who has the adjoining balcony, or the adjoining sort of like patio to mine, came out. And I did feel a little awkward because I was just in my bathing suit tanning. But she was really cool and very nice. She was coming out to water her flowers. And yeah, she was very, very sweet. So we chatted for a little bit. Winston was very protective of me. He wanted to make sure this neighbor was not coming to get me. Okay, that next row is complete. It's funny when I think of things to say with this project, I'm like, oh, I can't say that because I don't want to reveal anything. Since I know what I'm stitching, at least in this corner. I've also thought maybe I should just not keep an eye on the pattern and know where I'm going, so it kind of is like a mystery for me too. But then I realized, no, I just like looking at the pattern more often than not, because it does kind of just, it's a double check for me to make sure that I'm using the right color in the right spot by like looking at the pattern and being like, oh yeah, this is what it's supposed to look like, and just kind of verifying that. So it's not going to be a mystery for me. But then as I go to talk about it, I want to say things, then I'm like, oh, I can't quite say that yet, until you all start guessing it or seeing what it is. And I mean, I honestly think at this point, if I was the one guessing, I would have no idea with just what I have stitched so far, because it doesn't really give a lot away. But stay tuned, because it is coming. It is going to happen. It will be revealed. You will see what's going on. So yeah, the big thing for me is going to be parking with these threads, or, parking on this piece. When I have so many different color changes, how do I handle that? I think that's going to be the big challenge. Because, when I get down to just a couple of thread color changes, like this section I'm in right now, it's much easier, kind of goes a little faster. It's more enjoyable. I can even use the Needle Park Avenues, and that all makes more sense to me. But then when we get into the sections where it's just really heavy, or there's just so many colors, I need to figure out how to deal with those better. And I think it might just be, I think the next block of really tough stitching I get like that, I'm going to try just not keeping so many needles on. Sorry, I had to see where I was going. Not keeping so many needles on. Maybe I'll just keep the needles on if it's if they're in the next row or the following row. And then everything else I'll take off the needle and just rethread it when I get to it. Because I think sometimes it just gets to be too much. But we'll see. I'll keep you posted on what's happening. I think we're just over an hour at this point, so I might not stitch too much longer with you. let you get on with the rest of your day. But I hope you enjoyed this stitchy session, and I hope you got more stitches in than me. You're getting to see some of the realness of stitching the way I stitch, and how it can be a little chaotic sometimes. A lot of like keeping threads untangled but still organized. So I totally get it if this is not the method for you, and if I might not do it the exact way you do. And I just hope that means you got more stitches in than me. Because that's always a good thing. I'm going to try to do this color, or at least this like last little bit of this yellow section. Kind of get that filled in. This yellow section does go down for a little ways yet along the side of the frame. So, once we get into the bottoms of these diagonals, they kind of will be very similar. It'll be this yellow into this darker purplish into the frame. And that's just how it'll be for a little while. But then the middle of the diagonals will be different, and even the top of the diagonal will be a little different as we move on. Funny, but now that we're an hour and 20 minutes in, it's like now I'm feeling that calmness of stitching, kind of out of the weeds of that heavier confetti section. The whistling sound outside kind of stopped, just hearing the wind and the sound of the needle and the thread, and that's very calming to me. So it's like this is when I get in that just flow state. But obviously it's taken a while to get here today. So I worked through all of this. Now I'm going to make an exception. One of these threads that I parked right here still has a pretty good length of thread left on it, and you know what? No, I'm going to leave that parked. I thought I was going to stitch some more of that color, but I decided against it. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just continue down here in what we've got. I think sometimes as I'm working in the diagonal, and especially on this side, the diagonal, it's not an exact diagonal for me. And so sometimes the diagonal gets wider or shorter just based on what stitches of a color I have left. And so I thought I was going to stitch more stitches of that one color, but it's actually pretty well into the next diagonal, so I don't need to do that. I'm just going to save it all until I actually get there. because I'm not going to stitch that color, I'll try to point it out here once I pull my needle up to the front. So the color I was talking about was this one stitch right here that is not filled in, but because I'm not going to stitch that right now, this thread I'm not going to use until the next diagonal either. So I'm going to kind of park that for now and basically start my new diagonal stair steps from this stitch and just kind of leave all of that for next time, if that makes any sense. And yeah. But I think that is a pretty good stopping point. We're probably at about an hour and a half. So I hope you enjoyed this little stitchy, chatty session. Apologies if I wasn't quite as talkative at some places, but that's where I was able to get to. So we added a number of rows in through here. I think we were like up here somewhere when we first started. And let's look. I added 108 stitches as we stitched today. So that's better than the 50 that I thought, thanks to that kind of section of yellow at the end. But I hope you enjoyed this. Winston has just been napping here, as he likes to do. So I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I probably won't come back to you until Tuesday now with any new videos, but I hope you enjoy maybe stitching along with this weekend. And yeah, maybe I will see you at Lindy Stitch's Spring Mingle next weekend. I'm planning to do sort of a vlog style video throughout the weekend there, and maybe I'll see you at one of the stitchy tables. But have a wonderful weekend. Take care, and I will see you soon. Bye.